This is a new ministry which is just starting. Reverend Hood needs your help in sharing the good news of Jesus Christ and His power throughout the world. If you would be so kind as to send a donation to Nicholas Hood III Ministries of any amount, Reverend Hood will send you a free complimentary copy of his book of original personal prayers and beautiful photographs entitled The Test, The Strength, The Endurance, and The Way Out.
And the point that I'm making is that in everybody's life, at some point, there's a plan B. God is talking to us every step of the way. God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has been directing me every step of my life.
On the Word Network.
You know why I really love Nick Hood as a minister? I watched his father do it, and he took over for the church, and he was one of us, but he really turned out to be a great minister. I know it's hard, and that's something that I know that all ministers may not be doing what they're doing because for the right reasons, but I know it's hard. I know he's a beautiful man, and we've been knowing each other for over 50 years. I believe in him. He's inspired me in so many ways to do what I'm doing and try to be the best at it. Make sure you watch Nick Hood's Ministries. You'll never be the same.
And the point that I'm making is that in everybody's life, at some point, there's a plan B. God is talking to us every step of the way. God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has been directing me every step of my life.
On the Word Network.
Today I want to talk about happiness. Happiness. I don't know if you are happy. If somebody asked you, how happy are you? What would you honestly say? But I think in Jesus Christ, we have a roadway, we have a pathway to happiness. In John 10, verse 10, Jesus says, I come that you may have life and that you might have it more abundantly. And I think that that abundant life that Jesus talks about is really another way of saying, I come that you might be happy. And let me say this, you have the right to be happy. I believe that God put you on earth to be happy. And God put you on life, on this earth to have a fulfilled life, a purposeful life, a meaningful life. And that's what Jesus is talking about when he says, I come that you might have life and you might have life more abundantly. Now there are some sad sack Christians, and there's nothing worse than a sad sack Christian. But there's some sad sack Christians who interpret this verse, I come that you may have life and that you might have life more abundantly. They interpret it to mean that this abundant life is life after death. And yes, I believe that. Yes, I believe that that is the ultimate prize. That's the eternal gift for you and for me. But Jesus Christ also meant when he said, I come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. He's really saying, I come that you might be happy. And if you don't believe me, why is it Jesus heals the man with a withered hand? Why is it Jesus gave sight to so many people who were blind? Why is it Jesus cleanses the skin of the leper? Why is it Jesus fed the 5,000? He didn't have to do that. If all they're going to do is wait till they die to enjoy eternal life, why feed hungry people? Why give healing to people who have a skin disease, who have no use of their eyes. Why did Jesus bother himself with this? And I believe that Jesus only bothered himself, only engaged himself with people who are suffering because Jesus wanted them to be happy. And guess what? The Lord wants you to be happy. And so today I want to talk about this happiness. Where does it come from? I heard a podcast a few weeks ago where a scholarly researcher, a female, said that she was on an airplane, an intercontinental flight with her husband. I forget where they were flying to, but as they were crossing the Atlantic Ocean, she said that they experienced turbulence like she had never seen before. She said the plane went up and down, and she said it must have dropped 1,000 feet, not just once, but at least 2 or 3 times. She said that the drops in the plane, in the sky, were so violent that the food trays flew up to the ceiling. Some people who didn't have on their seat belts flew up and they hit their heads. They were bleeding, needed medical attention. She's on this plane with her husband, and both she and her husband experienced the same thing. If I recall correctly, I think what she said was her husband was actually slightly injured in a way that she wasn't. But unlike her husband, the after effects of this experience bothered her worse than it did him. She said she and her husband, sought some medical attention afterwards, but she said within a day or so, her husband bounced back. For him, it was just a bad plane ride, but for her, she said she didn't get over it for a long time. She had to have psychological help. She said that she was scared to death of flying. And she was fascinated that her experience going on that rough plane ride was so dramatically different than her husband's. And so she has devoted her life now to researching happiness and researching why 2 people can experience the same thing, but they come away with totally different attitudes. For some, a car accident is life-changing. For somebody else, it's just a bad experience. Some people will have a near drowning experience and they're terrified of the water. There are others who have a near drowning experience and they just bounce back. When I was a little boy, my family, I was born in New Orleans, and my family would take these car trips every year. We would drive north, going to the East Coast to see my mother's people, and then we'd go to Indiana to see my father's people. And one time on the East Coast, we went to visit relatives in New York, and we went to a beach called Jones Beach. Anybody here looking at this program been to Jones Beach? But as a little boy, I'm out there with my little feet in the water. Maybe, I don't remember if my brother was in the water with me, but I'm in the water. I remember it like it was yesterday because a wave hit me and I got dragged out into the Atlantic Ocean, not very far. I don't want to make it sound like, I was in the middle of the ocean. I was just a little guy, and I got dragged out maybe 5-6 feet into the ocean. The water's still shallow, but the beach was gravelly. The sand where I got dragged out into the water was a coarse, gravelly kind of sand. I got dragged out in the undertow. And that was the first time in my life I had ever been dragged into the undertow of the water. And It was scary. I realized that the water was a lot stronger than I was. But just as the undertow dragged me out, it also, helped me to get back to the shore. And when I got back to the shore, I went back into the water. I was just a little boy having fun. But as I think back on that experience as an adult, I realize that there's some people, I've talked to people over the years who've had near drowning experiences that they have not ever bounced back from. Most of the people that I know who are terrified of the water have good reason. And maybe somebody looking at this is terrified of going into an ocean, terrified of going into a swimming pool because you had a bad experience. But, in my case, I had a bad experience, but it was just Tuesday. It was just another day for me. And as I began to learn how to swim stronger, I realized that if I'm going to enjoy the water, I have to learn how to swim. And, the rest is history. But this researcher that I was telling you about, that I heard on the podcast, she was saying that she's wondering if happiness is innate, and an innate kind of reaction that we have. Are some people just born with a more positive outlook, born with a more happy kind of disposition? And or is happiness something that can be learned? And I would maintain that Jesus Christ came to earth to show you and to show me how to be happy. And this happiness of Jesus, my friends, is not a surfacey kind of happiness, but a genuine, substantial, real kind of happiness. And, there are a lot of people and a lot of things that purport to give us happiness. They're all, you have things like yoga. And don't get me wrong, I try to work out 5 to 6 days a week, and I end my workout on whatever day it is with the sun salutation, from yoga. And put my hands in the air, bend down, and I do my little thing. But I'm not doing the yoga for happiness. I'm doing the yoga because I need the stretching. I know that I need the conditioning. And the older we get, the more important it is to be conditioned. And so I guess you could make the argument, well, maybe I'm happier because I do that. But that's not why I do it. I just do it because I'm trying to be healthy. There are a lot of things in life that purport to make you happy. Transcendental meditation. As I said, the yoga. Some people go exercise or go jogging, saying that when I jog, I'll be happy. If I exercise, I'm happy. Some people will read a book to be happy. Some will go to the theater to be happy. But I tell you, there's no happiness like a happiness in the Lord. Because what the Lord promises us is something that is deeper than anything that's surfacey. And once we learn how to tap in to the power of Jesus Christ, once we learn how to incorporate the values of Christ, the principles of Christ every day in our lives, what you will find is the kind of things that will make you sad no longer will make you sad. You may be going through a divorce, but it won't be the end of your life. You may go bankrupt, but it won't be the end of your joy. You may undergo cancer or multiple sclerosis, be diagnosed with lupus or AIDS, Parkinson's, any of these horrible illnesses. But the Lord will show you how to be happy in spite of whatever you're going through. You may have arthritis and your fingers are hurting, your knees are hurting, your hip is hurting, but the Lord will show you how to be happy in spite of that. And so I'm going to come back in a minute, and when I come back, I'm going to talk a little bit more about happiness. Thanks so much for being with me. Why don't you take a moment, pick up the phone, call a friend, tell them Nick Hood's on the line, and he's talking about happiness. And I want you to call the saddest person you know. Call them and tell them to watch the show right now. I'll be right back.
America used to be considered a godly country. It doesn't seem to be that way to me now. And I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything, but it's so many things they're okaying for the wrong reasons. There's not godly reason. People need to really open up the Bible, the Bible, and look in it and really get it into their heart. And this, the way the Reverend Hood is doing this is a comfortable way. It's not forcing anything on people. It's a comfortable way and a loving way for it to continue to move in that direction.
The way Reverend Hood presents it, you can understand it, and it makes you want to delve into the Bible even more so that you can see more, because it seems like the program goes off too fast. We need the bread of life.
We really do.
These days, we need it more than ever. And Reverend Hood's ministry on TV is giving us our bread.
Today I'm talking about happiness. I believe that Jesus Christ came to earth so that you and I might be happy. Not just that we might have long life, but a happy life. He said in John 10, verse 10, I come that you might have life and that you might have life more abundantly. And the way I interpret that word, abundant life, is a meaningful life. A meaningful life is a happy life. A fulfilled life. A fulfilled life is a happy life. A purposeful life is a happy life. And as long as you have a purpose, as long as you have found something that's meaningful, you will have happiness in your life. And so I want to talk about a little more specifically, what can you and I do to achieve this happiness that the Lord has promised to us? Number one, immerse yourself in the Bible. Take the time to read, dedicate a little bit of time every day just to read the Bible. And number two, then ask yourself, how can I connect the Bible to what's going on in my life? And, we have so many tools today that we didn't have even 15 years ago. I mean, today, you can, before you even start reading the Bible, you could just Google a theme. What does the Bible say about love? What does the Bible say about joy? What does the Bible say about happiness? What does the Bible say about problem solving? Who in the Bible, had bad experiences? Who in the Bible had to really claw their way out from trouble? And who in the Bible went to prison? And, as you begin to do these Google searches, it will tell you immediately where to find the answers in the Bible. And, if you start there, I would encourage you, read the Bible. And then number two, ask yourself, how can I incorporate what I've read in the Bible into my personal life? And then try to actually use the tools that you've read about in the Bible, to deal with your personal situation. If somebody's making you angry, and you ask the Bible, you ask Google, how should I deal with people who are not nice to me. One of the things the Google search will probably tell you is do unto others as you do unto yourself, or as you would have them do unto yourself. And just imagine if you take that kind of attitude, all of a sudden, your response, your reaction to trouble and to people who cause you trouble, people who cause you harm, people who are mean to you, deceitful to you, people who are backbiting to you, what you will find is that all of a sudden you're no longer responding in a knee-jerk kind of way, trying to get even with somebody else, but you start looking at them differently, and maybe you feel sorry for them. Maybe you'll start praying for them. What I found is that as I pray, the more I pray for other people, particularly when somebody has been mean to me, when somebody has been deceitful to me, when somebody has gone out of their way to try to hurt my feelings, I pray for them. And in the process of praying for them, I feel better. And very often I feel so much better. What happens is I start smiling. And I'm sure, sometimes a person will look at me like, why is that guy smiling at me? Doesn't he know I've just insulted him? Doesn't he know that I don't like him? Doesn't he know that, I'm saying bad things about him? But he's smiling at me. Why is he smiling at me? And I tell you, my smile is a genuine smile. When I start smiling at a person who's lied on me or, done something to go out of their way to hurt my feelings, when I start smiling at them, it totally confounds them and it confuses them. And it's not just the people who've been mean to me. I pray for people when they run up on me in the car and, speed around me. I pray for the typically as a young person on a motorcycle who is jumping lanes on the road. I start praying for them. And if I see somebody who looks like they're dressed in a way that's not really the best they could be dressed, I pray for them. And in the process of doing that, I feel better. There's something spiritual, something mysterious happens in my life when I start praying for you, when I pray for anybody. And my prayer that I pray for the person who's driving recklessly is a real simple prayer. I just say, Lord, protect them. Lord, don't let them run off this road. Lord, don't let them hurt somebody else. And in the process of doing that, I feel better. Also, another way we can find happiness in life is to analyze in our lives, what is it that's keeping me from being happy? And then go to work on obtaining that happiness. During the break, I was sharing with our crew who's videotaping this that my father didn't learn how to swim till he was 60 years of age. What I did not tell them is that the reason why he didn't learn how to swim till he was 60 was that in Terre Haute, Indiana, back in the 40s and 30s and early 20s, African Americans could not go to the public pool. They were forbidden from doing that. And so because of that, they would sneak out and swim in the rock quarry, and every now and then, kids would die. My father knew people who had drowned in the rock quarry. So he just never learned how to swim. But when my father was 60, my mother had died, and my dad moved out of the house, and he got an apartment in the Millender Center in downtown Detroit. Some of you watching this are from Detroit, and you know where the Millender Center is. But one thing about the Millender Center is it has this really nice swimming pool. It had recessed lighting, and it was attached to a health facility. And I had just had, my children, who would be my father's grandchildren, and my father wanted to entertain the children in the pool. The kids would come down after school sometimes to be with my dad, but he wanted to take them to the pool, but he was terrified of going to the pool because he didn't know how to swim. So guess what my dad did? He went to the local Parks and Rec pool, entered into, one of the adult swim classes, and they taught him how to swim at 60 years of age. And from that point on, my dad was comfortable with his grandchildren. He was comfortable taking them to the pool. And one of the things you learn when you learn how to swim is that the greatest joy in learning how to swim is not that you go to a pool and you start doing laps. The greatest joy in swimming is being able to go to a beach, to go to a pool, and just sit with your feet in the water, sit with your whole body in the water, and enjoy the water for the sake of just enjoying it. But it's a lot easier to enjoy the water if you're not terrified of the water. And in my father's case, what I learned from him was that he addressed his fears and he got over it. And he got over his fears because he learned how to swim. And so I encourage you to remind yourself that the Lord came to earth that you might be happy. And if you're not happy, then we've got to do something about it. And you can call me, I'll pray for you. But you can also read the Bible for yourself and ask yourself, what is the Lord trying to tell me about my personal situation? And how can the Lord help me with my life right now? Because that's really what the Lord wants to do. So thanks so much for watching the program today. It's just totally invigorating to me to know that you have taken the time to look at this program. And I want you to know that it's growing every week. I hear from people around the country, and I'm just really enthused to be able to share the good news that I believe I know and am experiencing in Jesus Christ. I just want to share it with the world, and I'm so glad to share it with you today. God bless, God keep you, and I hope you'll tune in next week. And remember, I'm praying for you. God bless.
Thank you for watching today's program. We hope you've been blessed in a powerful way. Just knowing you took the time to watch today's broadcast is a great encouragement to Pastor Nick Hood. If this broadcast has been a blessing to you, we ask that you mail a tax-free donation to Nicholas Hood Ministries at 4535 Chrysler Drive, Detroit, Michigan, 48201.
And the point that I'm making is that in everybody's life, at some point, there's a plan B. God is talking to us every step of the way. God is trying.